Radhe Radhe. On behalf of all of you, I welcome Sushree Siddheshvari Didiji, and let me give a brief intro of her. Siddheshvari Didiji, who we lovingly call Didi Ji, is a very senior preacher of our worldwide organization, Jagadguru Kripalu Parishat. Didi Ji was born in India and raised mostly in Canada. She graduated from York University in Toronto with an honors degree in languages and linguistics. She learned the philosophy of the Raga Nuga Bhakti and the knowledge of all our Hindu scriptures under the direct guidance of Jagadguru Kripalu Maharaj, and she took sannyas to become a preacher in the year 1985. Didi Ji travels throughout the world, serving the spiritual needs of seeking souls by revealing the practical aspects of bhakti through meditation enhanced by bhajan and kirtan. She distributes the nectar of knowledge to people of all ages through her lectures, tours, seminars, retreats, satsangs, youth camps, and one-on-one counseling. I request all of you to please listen to her discourse very attentively. And now, as a token of our respect for Didi Ji, I request Shri Vani to offer her a garland.
बोलिए लाडली लाल की जय, श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय। आराधनानां सर्वेषां विष्णो राराधनं परम तस्मात् परतरं देवी तदीयानां समर्चनम् येषां श्रीमद्यशोदा सुतपदकमले नास्ति भक्तिर्नराणाम् येषामाभिरकन्या प्रियगुणकथने नानुरक्ता रसज्ञा येषां श्रीकृष्णलीला ललितरसकथा सादरौ नैव कर्णौ धिक्तान् धिक्तान् धिगेतान् कथयति नियतं कीर्तनस्थो मृदङ्गः नमः कमलनाभाय नमः कमलमालिने नमः कमलपादाय नमस्ते कमलेक्षण यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्वमः देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये. Eternal devotees of God, we will chant the name of Sri Radharani, keeping in mind that the one who chants the name of Sri Radha with love, with a heart overflowing with love, is protected from all sides. He need not have any fear, because Bhagwan Vishnu walks in front of that devotee with his Sudarshan Chakra, the divine discus. Behind him walks Bhagwan Shankar with his weapon, Trishul, the trident. To the left of him walks Varun with his weapon, Nagpash. And to his right, Indra walks with his weapon, Vajra, the thunderbolt. So say the scriptures. So let's discover the power and glory of Radharani's name by chanting it with an abundance of love. जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे 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 जय राधे जय 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 श्री राधे ताली बजाइए प्लीज क्लैप योर हैंड्स एंड सिंग राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
बोलिए राधा रानी महारानी की जय, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय। Devotional listeners, now I humbly request your full attention as we discover the power and glory of God's divine name. The Bhagavatam says, Kaler dosh nidhe rajan nasti heko mahan gunah kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param brajet. And the meaning of this verse, Sanskrit verse from the Bhagavad, becomes much clearer when we read it from Radha Govind Geet of Jagadguru Kripalu Maharaj, our beloved Gurudev. Kali sarva dosh khani Govind Radhe Gun Krishna Kirtan Hari Te Milade. Although Kali Yuga, Yuga meaning age or era, the era of Kali, the present age that we're living in, it is the repository of all evils. Yet the great virtue of this Kali Yuga is that you can easily attain God by chanting the holy name. That is a great virtue of the era that we are living in. Many difficult methods of practicing devotion have been recommended for the other eras. Krite yadhyayato vishnum tretayam yajato makhaihi dvapare paricharyayam kalau tadhari kirtanat. Bhagavad once again. In Krita Yuga, again, the meaning of this verse also becomes much clearer when we read it in the Ramcharitmanas of Saint Tulsidas. Krit Jug Sab Jnani Yogi Vigyani Kari Hari Dhyan Tarahi Bhav Prani Treta Vividh Yagya Nar Karahi Prabhu hi samarpi karm bhav tarahi द्वापर करी रघुपति पद पूजा, नर भव तरहि उपाय न दूजा। कलि जुग केवल हरि गुण गाहा, पा गावत नर पावत भव thaha. Tulsidas ji says, and Vedavyas ji says, both of them say the same thing in two different languages. In Kriti Yuga or Satyug, the recommended spiritual method of attaining union with God is silent meditation on God. But that does not work well in Kali Yuga. We all know that. In Treta Yuga, in the age of Treta, the recommended method was doing yajnas, performing the Vedic ceremonies and sacrifices. But we get too caught up with just saying swaha as we put in the ingredients in the fire, and our mind doesn't go to God. In Dwapar Yuga, the recommended method was ritualistic worship, but we get too caught up with rituals and we don't derive the benefit. But in Kali Yuga, there's the easiest method, and that is chanting of the holy name. Hare Namaiva 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 Mama Jivanam Kalau Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyatha. This verse from Skanda Puran says, O people of Kali Yuga, the only method of attaining a union with God in this present age is chanting of the holy name. Don't even think about anything else. There's no other method, no other method, no other method. Emphasis is given to one and only path, one and only method in Kali Yuga, being chanting of the holy name. Why is it said that the name of God is so powerful? It's as powerful as God. It is because, unlike a worldly name, the name of God is not an insentient thing. The name of God is Chinmay and Chetan. It is transcendental and it is a living entity. It is a conscious entity. We can't really comprehend that. We cannot understand that using our logical mind, but we must accept what we cannot understand. In the godly area, we must accept first that which we cannot understand. And then when we have the experience, then we'll say, oh, that's so easy. Now I understand. So the name of God is infused with God himself. God sits in his name. He's living in his name with all his powers, all his energies, his uncountable energies. And that is what makes the name of God as great as God. So all the powers of God are in God's name because God resides in his name. This is why it is said that there is no difference between Nam and Nami. Nam means the name, and Nami is the one whose name is being chanted, and that is God. Between God and his name, there is no difference. They're both one and the same. Now, because the name of God is so easily available to us, we do not think about this. That what a great grace, amazing grace God has given to us in the form of his name. And he sits in his name with all his powers. That is an amazing grace. And what's even more amazing is that there are no rules and restrictions as for chanting the name of God. When, where, how, there is no rule, no restriction. Everywhere in the world there are rules. If you visit somebody in their house, there are rules of the house. You cannot take your shoes inside the house. Please keep them outside. Oh, all right. I'm sorry. And then that's the rule of the house. You cannot smoke inside the house. That's another rule. There are rules of the house. And in establishments such as restaurants, movie theaters, and so on, there are rules. You cannot be on your cell phone when you're watching the movie. You cannot walk barefoot into this 5-star restaurant. You can't do that. There are rules. With devtas, the celestial beings, there are so many rules. They're so picky, so choosy. This particular devta says, well, I will not accept this offering. You must make me that kind of offering. And this particular Devi from Swargalok says, well, you cannot offer me just any color. You must offer me garments of red color only. There are so many rules. But God says, when you take my name, I will not hold you responsible. I will not impose any rules. Na desha niyamas tasmin na kala niyamas tatha. Padma Puran says there is no hard and fast rule about desh and kal, meaning place where you chant God's name, and kal, the time when you chant God's name. You can chant the name of God anytime, dusk, dawn, at dawn, in the morning, at night, afternoon, evening, midnight, anytime. There's no restriction. And you can chant it anywhere. 500 years ago, there lived a very simple-hearted devotee who was so accustomed to uttering the name of God all the time that even when he went to the toilet, he was still chanting the name of God. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Some people heard him and they took him to task. They said, "You foolish man, you are illiterate, you don't know these things, but you must not take the name of God in the toilet. What are you thinking? That's a sin." Well, he became so nervous, he became so repentant, he became so contrite. He said, "I don't know what to do." So he went to his guru, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and he said, "I've made a big mistake. How do I atone for this sin? I have taken the name of God in a very dirty place." Gauranga Mahaprabhu said, "Who told you that?" "These people. They told me this." Gauranga Mahaprabhu said, "They don't know anything. They do not know that God is omnipresent. So you can take the name of God any place, anytime, anywhere. Sarvam khalvidam Brahm, the Vedas say God is everywhere. Also, Mahaprabhuji said, these people do not know that you cannot defile the name of God. You cannot defile God, you cannot defile the name of God. You can take the name of God in the dirtiest of places, in the dirtiest of places. And the name of God, if chanted with love, it will purify that place. You can be in, you can wear dirtiest of clothes. Let's say you're a coal miner and you just come out of your shift and you haven't taken a bath yet. You can take the name of God while you're in the mine. You've come out and you have not cleaned your body yet. You can take the name of God. The name of God will not be defiled, but you will be purified. So the name of God can be taken at any place, at any time. No rules, no restrictions. So because God lives in his name, along with his uncountable energies and powers, the name of God is equal to God. But Tulsidas Ji has said the name of God is greater than God. कहाँ कहाँ लगी नाम बड़ाई, राम न सकहीं नाम गुन गाई। राम भालु कपि कटक बटोरा, सेतु हेतु श्रम कीन्ह न थोरा। नाम लेत भव सिंधु सुखाही, करहु विचार सुजन मन माही। Tulsidas Ji, with his heart filled with love for Bhagwan Sri Ram, says, "O good people of the world, tell me who is greater, Bhagwan Sri Ram or his name? Ram or ya unka naam? Kaun bada hai in dono mein?" And he helps us out by saying, well, you know, to build a bridge to Lanka, Bhagwan Sri Ram solicited the help of Sugriv and his army of monkeys. There's so many who helped in building the bridge. Of course, that was not an ordinary feat because we see bridges across rivers, but this is a bridge spanning an ocean. That is a feat impossible for even the most tech-savvy engineers of today. But that was done in Treta Yuga. We become so boastful of the modern age technology. In Treta Yuga, they built this bridge spanning an ocean. So Mother Sita could be brought back. She could be brought back from Ravan's hold in Lanka. So Tulsidas Ji said Bhagwan Sri Ram needed so much help to build the bridge to Lanka, but his name is even more powerful than him, because just by chanting his name, you can cross the ocean of Maya. You're taking the name of God, take the name of Ram, and the ocean of Maya will just dry up, and you can just walk across. So, O good people of the world, tell me, who is greater, Ram or his name? There are many advantages to Bhagwan Ram's name over Bhagwan Ram himself. You see, when we say that the saint is greater than God, and yet we know that no one is greater than God, then how is it the saint, the Guru, is greater than God? It is from the point of view of our self-interest that the Guru is greater than God. Otherwise, no one's greater than God. It is the Guru who gives knowledge. It is the Guru who answers questions. It's the Guru who reveals the method of reaching God. It is the Guru who solves all our problems, spiritual problems, and gives us clarity and inspires us each and every moment to walk on the path and gives us divine experiences. So that's why the Guru is greater than God. In the same way, there is no one greater than God, but his name is greater from the point of view of our self-interest being fulfilled more through God's name. The name of God, no one can have any doubts about God's name. But we have lots of doubts. We can have lots of doubts about God. When we hear about Bhagwan Sri Krishna as a child asking his mother for food, Maiya mohi dade makhan roti, then we think, hold on, what's that? That's not God, because God doesn't get hungry, he doesn't get thirsty. Chandogya Upanishad says, Esha Atma prahita papma vijaro vimrityur vishoko vijighatso pipasah satyakamah satyasankalpah. Chandogya Upanishad. He is ajighatsaha and apipasaha. He suffers neither from hunger nor thirst. So when we hear about the pastimes, or when we were here on earth and we saw little Krishna, Kanhaiya, asking his mother for food, then we thought, how is it that this Durvasa Muni and others, they're out of their minds. They say that this boy is God. That I cannot believe this, because God doesn't get hungry. And this boy, little boy, is so hungry that he's asking his mother and pulling at her sari, pulling her hair, and throwing a temper tantrum. Yeah, please give me food right now. That's not God. We became confused. God is someone, God is that divine, supreme being who can satiate the hunger of countless universes just by thinking about it. And he should be asking for makhan roti. Pandavas, the 5 brothers, their mother Kunti and their wife Draupadi, they were in exile. They were spending some years in exile, and they had a problem. Food for them was not a problem. They would eat anything that they found, and they would make rotis out of grass, and they would eat the berries and fruits off the trees. But they were visited by many sages and ascetics. They wanted to give darshan and take darshan of the Pandavas. So the Pandavas thought, how can we feed them? How can we feed our holy guests? So Surya Devta became pleased with the Pandavas, and he granted them a wonderful vessel called Akshay Patra. It was a vessel that would supply them with, would give them an inexhaustible supply of food for the day, but only until Draupadi had eaten. So Draupadi would eat at the end of the day, after everyone had finished eating, and after that the Akshay Patra would not provide any more food until the following morning. Duryodhan, we all know Duryodhan, he was a troublemaker. So he decided to humiliate the Pandavas, his cousins. So he went up to sage Durvasa and said, "Oh, holy sir, you must give darshan to the Pandavas, my cousins. They would be very happy to receive you. They would consider it their great fortune to feed you." Durvasa Muni agreed, and he visited the Pandavas, not alone, but with hundreds of disciples. And the Pandavas said, "Ab kya hoga? Now what? How are we going to feed sage Durvasa?" And he's famous for his anger. When something goes wrong, if you don't respect him properly, he might pronounce a curse on you. So what do we do? Durvasa Muni said to the Pandavas, my disciples and I, we will go for a dip in the Ganga Ji, and in the meantime, and after that we shall come and eat. Well, they went away. In the meantime, the Pandavas panicked. What are we going to do? Draupadi thought about Shri Krishna, and he appeared in front of them, and he understood what was going on. And he said, bring the Akshay Patra to me. Draupadi brought the Akshay Patra, that divine vessel, and Bhagwan Shri Krishna said, there is something sticking to the bottom. There was a little leaf. And Shri Krishna took that leaf off, put it in his mouth, and then he said, I feel so full. My stomach is completely full. And he left. And the Pandavas are thinking, what about Durvasa Muni? What about hundreds of his disciples? Well, they finished bathing, and all of a sudden, they also felt that their stomachs were full. So they went to the Pandavas, and Durvasa Muni said, I don't know why, but I feel completely full, and my disciples are saying the same thing. So we will take your leave now. We will now go, and we will not be eating anything. The Pandavas did pranam to Durvasa Muni, and he left. The Supreme Lord Krishna, by eating a little leaf, could satiate the hunger of hundreds of people. And of course, of countless people in innumerable universes. He is hungry. With our very limited and material mind, we cannot comprehend his pastimes. And so whenever we saw him, whenever we saw God, and we've seen him uncountable times, we thought him to be ordinary. Just like us. When we saw him, we didn't really see him. We saw our own feelings and sentiments, our bhavana, and we projected that on him, and then we thought, he's a good man, or he's all right, or he's not a good man, he's not so good looking, my brother is better looking than him, my son is more handsome than him. What are Durvasa and others going on and on about? We don't understand. We did not see his divinity. And we became very, very confused. When Bhagavan Sri Ram, when we saw him, also we became extremely confused. When Sita Ji went missing, when she was kidnapped by Ravan, Bhagavan Ram's grief knew no limits. And he was grieving so much that he was asking the creatures of the forest, the birds, he was asking nature, have you seen my beautiful Sita anywhere? He khag mrig, he madhukar shreni, tum dekhi Sita mrignani. O crows, O birds, O animals, O honeybees, have you seen my doe-eyed Sita anywhere? Mrignani Sita. He's asking the forests, he's asking the mountains, he's asking these innate objects, have you seen my Sita anywhere? Re vriksha parvatastha girigahanalata vayuna vijyamana ramoham vyakulatma dasharath tanaya shoka shukrena dagdha bimboshthi charu netri suvipula jagana baddha nagendra kanchi ha Sita kena nita mama hridaya gata ko bhavan kena drishta. Have you seen my Sita anywhere? He's asking. And we looked at him and we thought, oh my goodness, this is the limit. He is so attached to his wife that he doesn't know that trees can't talk, mountains can't talk. The deer cannot talk, they cannot tell him, they can't understand what he's saying. So when we see God on earth, he performs his earthly pastimes, we become incredibly confused simply because we don't understand the concept of Yogamaya. It is with our Gurudev's grace that we now understand that God seems to be performing works of Maya, ordinary works, but he remains divine on the inside, and that is due to the power of his most intimate energy called Yogamaya. But not being aware of this, we became very, very confused, and it is likely that we'll become confused again. But we cannot become confused about God's name. We can't have doubts about God's name. We love the name of God. We love the name of Krishna, Govind, Gopal. We love to chant Radhe, Radhe. We love the names of God. There can be no doubt about God's name. Another advantage that name has over God is that if we get the news today that Bhagwan Shri Krishna has come to Vrindavan, then we will have to make efforts to go there. We don't live in India, and we will have to see the passport. Oh my goodness, my passport has expired, and I need to go see my Prabhu in Vrindavan. He's only there, and he's come for a short period of time. What do? My passport is good, but I don't have a visa. Oh, it'll take some time to get the visa. I have to spend money. I don't have that money to spend on the flight, for airfare. So there are many restrictions. But the name of God, you can take it anywhere. It's available everywhere, in every place. You don't need a passport. You don't need a visa. The name of God is available to us at all times, everywhere. And that's a great advantage. Another advantage we have, the name has over God, is that God gives sanyog and he gives viyog. Sometimes he is with the devotees, sometimes he leaves the devotees. He gives them separation. Sanyog, viyog, association and separation. Bhagavan Shri Krishna left the gopis who loved him more than life when he was just a little over 11 years of age. He was 11 and a half years of age when he left them, never going back to them. Bhagavan Shri Ram, he gave separation to his devotees. All the people of Ayodhya, he gave them separation. Mother Kaushalya, Mother Sumitra, Bharat, Shatrughna, so many devotees became separated from God when he descended to earth. But you can never be separated from God's name. The name of God will not leave you. You will always have access. We always have access to the name of God. So God is available to us all the time in the form of his name. God thought that his human children, all of us, we would say to him, Bhagwan, how can we fall in love with you? How can we fall in love with you? We cannot come to you. When you come to earth, we don't understand you. We have doubts about you. How can we love you? And God thought there are many people who are blind, there are many who are deaf, there are many who are homebound. They can't go anywhere. So God says, you don't need to see anything. I don't need you to use your eyes. I don't need you to use your ears. You don't need to hear anything. You don't need to go anywhere. You just fall in love with my name. No one can say, I don't have a mind with which I can fall in love. We all have a mind. So God says, fall in love with my name. And in that way, you will love me. So there are many advantages that God's name has over God himself. But then our question is, if God's name, seeing that God's name is so powerful, it's so glorious, it has all the powers of God in it, and one of the powers of God is sweetness. God is unlimited sweetness, unlimited nectar. Then the name of God has that unlimited nectar. Yes? Then I'm taking his name, why am I not tasting that nectar? Why am I falling asleep while taking the name of God? How can that be? How is it that I get bored while taking God's name? Why is it that mind gets distracted while I take the name of God? Well, in answer to this question, the Vedas and Vedic scriptures tell us that we need to take the name of God, not mechanically, but lovingly. Take the name of God lovingly. Then the name of God will prove that it has unlimited sweetness in it. Le naam prem ras ghol, Sri Maharaj Ji says in one of the kirtans. Radhe Govind Govind bol. Le naam prem ras ghol. Mix love into the name of God and then drink that. In other words, take the name of God with love. But then we have a counter argument, a counter question, and that is, well, you know, if God's name has unlimited sweetness, then we should be able to experience that without even that love in our hearts. Because you see, when you have poison and you take poison, the poison will do its work, whether you take it deliberately or accidentally. Agreed? Yes? Whether you take poison knowingly or unknowingly, poison will kill you. Whether you enter this fire, whether you enter fire deliberately or you're pushed into it, fire will burn you. Agreed? Yes. So, whether we take the name of God lovingly or mechanically, God's name should reveal its power, right? No. When does poison kill? You have a bottle of poison in front of you. You don't say, oh my goodness, I saw the bottle of poison and I'm dying now. I'm poisoned. Goodbye, world. No. You can look at the bottle of poison, you can touch it. It won't do any damage because the poison is inside. In order for the poison to kill a person, that person has to open the bottle of poison and ingest the poison. The poison has to come into touch with the body. It has to go into the body, right? In order for the fire to kill a person, that person has to be, the person's body must come into touch with fire. You're looking at the fire, there's a nice bonfire. You don't say, oh my goodness, I'm getting burned. You don't. You feel the heat, yes? In the winter it feels really good, but you don't get burned just because you're looking at fire from a distance. You have to go into the fire. Your body has to be in contact with the fire in order for fire to burn you. Similarly, the name of God will give you the sweetness only when you accept it into your heart. Only when it comes into touch with your heart, only when you sing the name of God, chant the name of God with love, will the name of God show its greatness, its sweetness. Okay, understood? But what about Ajamil? Ajamil was dying and he took the name of, he said, Narayan. Narayan is name of Mahavishnu, name of God. And how is it that he, just by saying Narayan, he went to Vishnu Dham. He went to the abode of Vishnu. Ajamil was a very devoted man. He was devoted to God. He was devoted to his parents, elderly parents. He was a very devoted husband to his wife and a devoted parent, father to his children. But one day, with a little bit of kusang, where he saw something that he should not have seen. He saw something, a dirty scene, and in just one moment of kusang, wrong association, that association come in the form of a sight, sound, taste, smell, or touch or smell. So he saw something very dirty, a dirty scene, and that corrupted his mind to such an extent that he forgot all about devotion and he took up with a prostitute, lived with her, had children with her. And now he's at a very ripe old age and he's laying on his bed and he thinks it's his deathbed, he's dying, and he has an experience. He says Narayan because he's attached to his youngest son by the name Narayan, and as the katha is told, as the story is told by so many kathavachaks, storytellers, well, he said Narayan, and Bhagwan Vishnu said, oh, this one has taken my name, let's get him up here. Open the gates of Vaikunt for this man, for he has said Narayan, I'm happy with him. So Narayan, that name was not said with love. It was with love, but love for his child, not for God. So how did Ajamil attain the abode of God? By just uttering the name without any love for God. Well, actually the story of Ajamil is told wrongly. The fact is that he had an experience. It was not a dream, it was an experience that he thought he was dying, and he saw Vishnu Dut, he saw Yamraj's messengers, and on the other side, Bhagwan's messengers, and the messengers of Yamraj, the angel of death. They were going to take him away. He was going to die, but the Vishnu Dut, messengers of Vishnu, said, it is not his time. He is ours, and we will not let you claim his soul. And there was a fierce battle between these two parties, and messengers of Bhagwan Vishnu won, and Yamraj's messengers went away, defeated. And Ajamil woke up, literally and figuratively, and he thought, oh my goodness, I have wasted so much time in these worldly affairs, and I must come back to my devotion. So he left home, he left his family, he left everyone, he went to Haridwar, Ganga Dwar Mupeyaya, the Bhagavad says. He went to Ganga Dwar, meaning Haridwar, practiced uninterrupted devotion for 1 full year, and gave up his body willingly. And he went to Vaikunt. So it is not that Ajamil attained the abode of God simply by uttering the name of God without any love for God. And then we say, well, how is it that Ratnakar, the dacoit and murderer, Ratnakar attained God, he attained God realization by saying Mara, Mara, Mara. He couldn't even say Ram. Goodness. He couldn't even say Ram. He had committed too many sins. God said, I will not allow you to take my name. So, ulta naam japa jag jana, Valmiki bhai brahm samana. Ratnakar Daku became sage Valmiki, who wrote the story of Ram even before Bhagwan Ram descended to earth. Valmiki Ramayan, written in Sanskrit. So how is it that he attained God? Well, he did not attain God by just chanting Mara, 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 and ultimately you end up saying Ram, Ram, Ram. I'm sure you've tried it. I did. Mara, 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 Mara. I'm saying Ram, Ram, Ram. Eventually, what happened was that he became very surrendered to sage Narad. He accepted Narad Muni as his guru, and he surrendered fully to his guru when his guru said, chant Mara, Mara, Ram, Ram, until I come back. And Ratnakar could not, so Naradji said, never mind, just say Mara, Mara, Mara until I come back. Then Ratnakar Daku, he did not have any questions for Narad Muni. He did not ask, when will you be back? Can I take some breaks? Can I take snack breaks? Can I take meal breaks? Can I sleep? Allow me something. He didn't ask any such questions. We would have asked so many questions because we have a great intellect. And we find it so difficult to just surrender it. It should be like the Guru says jump and we don't think about it, we just jump. If there's one question, that could be, well, how high? But that's it. Not like, why should I jump? Why are you asking me to do this? What's the purpose of this? So Ratnakar Daku became Valmiki because he became fully surrendered to a guru, to a divine guru. That's why. Not because he chanted Mara, Mara, Mara. And then we have another confusion. And that is that in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says in more than one place, Om ityeka aksharam brahma vyaharan mamanusmaran yah priyati tyajandeham sayanti paramangatim. And then similar verses are there also. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra sanshaya. In the same chapter, chapter 8, verses 13 and verse 5. Verses 13 and 5. Shri Krishna says, if you take my name at the moment of death, you will come to me. And then we read that in the Gita and we said, that's great. I can just live my life and just be very worldly, and at the last moment I will take his name and I'll get there. Why are these fools taking the name of God, working so hard? I'll just take it at the end of my life, that's it. But at the end, at the last moment, in the last moment, we're not even conscious. The pain of death is so severe for someone who is controlled by Maya. That would be all of us. The pain of death is so severe that it has been likened to the pain of thousands of scorpions stinging a man, stinging a person all at once, simultaneously. And even one scorpion biting us, it gives so much. That poison is it's potent, and we feel a lot of pain. Once I saw a man writhing in pain in a village in India. I saw him writhing in pain and I asked, what's wrong with him? Somebody said he's just been bitten by a scorpion. And he was suffering so much, you couldn't look at him. And thousands of scorpions biting us at the same time. That pain, our threshold of pain is crossed, and we cannot tolerate that much pain. We all have a certain threshold of pain. Some people can take pain more than others. Some people can take a lot of pain and not say, ouch. But that pain is too much for anyone. So we all lose consciousness. So at the last moment, how can we take the name of God? We can't take his name when we are in a state of unconsciousness. So why did Bhagavan Sri Krishna say that in the Gita? If at the last moment you think of me, you'll come to me. Why this? That is for the true devotees of God, the saints, who are always absorbed in the thoughts of God, and they're always internally taking the name of God. So even at the last moment, because they give up their body at will, they're not attached to their body as we are. They don't mind leaving the world. They don't mind leaving the body. There's no pain of separation for them. So they willingly and happily leave their body. There's no state of unconsciousness. They are fully conscious, and with a smile on their face, they leave their body. So at that moment, they're also taking the name of God. So if at the last moment you think of me, you'll come to me, then the saints are the only ones who can do that. At the last moment, a saint, a sant, Mahatma, Mahapurush, he is thinking of God all the times, and because he has not fainted, he has not lost consciousness, he'll be thinking of God at the last moment also. So these doubts are in the mind, and these doubts have been cleared by Jagadguru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj, who then tells us that the name of God should be chanted with lots of love, because the Vedas say there's only one way to attain God, and that is through love. Bhakti revainam nayati, bhakti revainam pashyati, bhakti revainam darshayati, bhakti vashah purushah bhakti reva bhuyasi mathar shruti. Only devotion will take you to God. Only devotion will give you love, give you the darshan of God. Only devotion, only love, only bhakti. Bhaktya hame kaya grahya. In the Bhagavad Puran, Bhagavan says, I am attained only through devotion, only. The Ramayana says, Milahi na raghupati binu anuraga, kiye jog jap gyan viraga. Bhagavan Sri Ram can be attained only through love. He's a slave of love. Aham bhakta paradhina. He says in the Bhagavad, I am a slave of those who love me. Love attracts him. He's in love with love, and it is only through love that we can attain him. Not just by chanting his names, but chanting his names with love. Both of them have to come together. Shri Maharaj Ji says in one of the Kirtans, Chinmaya chetan hai yugal naam, nahi kaal niyam, nahi niyam dham, le naam prem ras ghol, Radhe Radhe Govind bol, Radhe 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 Govind bol. Each and every word of Sri Maharaj Ji is so valuable, it's so precious, it is priceless. It is filled with meaning. Each and every kirtan, each and every verse of every kirtan, every bhajan, every word of his has so much meaning behind it. So Sri Maharaj Ji says that we cannot attain God without loving him. When we utter his names, and that we must, because we are living in Kali Yuga, we must take his name, but we must take it with love. And that's when the name of God reveals what it is all about. It reveals its power. It reveals its glory. It reveals its divine powers and its divine and unlimited glory. Bhagwan Sri Ram says in Ramcharitmanas through Saint Tulsidas, मम गुण गावत पुलक शरीरा गद गद गिरा नयन बहनीरा. When you take my name, when you chant my name, then there should be goosebumps on your skin. And there should be a lump in your throat. You should not be able to take my name properly. And tears should be flowing from your eyes uncontrollably. And how will any of this happen if we're not loving him? What Bhagwan Ram is saying is, take my name with lots of love, with an abundance of love. Fill your heart with love and then take my name. Before we even start to take the name of God, Sri Maharaj Ji tells us, we must start doing Roop Dhyan. It's our experience, isn't it? That we have been chanting maybe for half an hour even, and then the mind says, oh my goodness, I have not been thinking about the one whose names I'm taking. I've been chanting, Bhajo Giridhar Govind Gopala, and I'm thinking about my child, I'm thinking about shopping, I'm thinking about banking, I'm thinking about the upcoming vacation. I was not even thinking about God. Oh my goodness. Half an hour later maybe, when we think, oh, I should do Roop Dhyan. So Sri Maharaj Ji says, start Roop Dhyan right before you even start chanting. You start with loving him, then you take his name. And then the name of God reveals what it is all about. Then we will experience that God, yes, God is living within his name. Bhagwan Shankar says to Parvati Ji, talking about his Ishtadev, Bhagwan Sri Ram, Bhagwan Shankar says, O Parvati, Rakara dini namani Shinmato mama Parvati Manah prasannatam yati Rama nama abhishankaya. Parvati, I have to confess that when I hear someone utter Ra, I become really happy. She asks, why, my lord? And Bhagwan Shankar says, because I suspect that the person who has just said Ra is going to say Ma next. And I just think he's going to say Ma. He's going to take the name of my Ishtadev, Bhagwan Sri Ram. And I become so happy. Now, there are so many words beginning with Ra. Ravan, the arch enemy of Bhagwan Sri Ram. Bhagwan Sri Ram, Ravan. Rath, chariot. We're looking forward to the Rath Yatra. Rath is a chariot. Ratna, gem. So many words starting with Ra, but Bhagwan Shankar has so much love for Bhagwan Sri Ram. Bhagwan Shankar loves Bhagwan Ram so much that he just thinks, anybody who says Ra, he thinks, he's going to take the name of my Ishtadev. He's going to say Ram, and if he feels so happy. That's where we want to be. That's where we should aspire to be. So much love. We should aspire to be so much in love with Bhagwan's name, just like Shukdev Paramhans. Merely by uttering the name Radha, he enters into Prem Samadhi for 6 entire months. 6 months Samadhi just by taking the name of Radha Rani. Shri Radha Nam Matrena Murcha Shanmasiki Bhavet. 6 months of Samadhi by taking the name of Radha. So much love he has for Radha Rani. These are our inspirations. We should love God that much. When we used to see our Gurudev walking and taking the name of Radharani, walking in the middle, male devotees on one side, female devotees on the other, and Bhagwan and Sri Maharaj Ji walking in the middle, and then raising his hand so beautifully, raising his arm and Hare Ram, and taking the name of Radharani. There would be tears flowing from his eyes, and he would lose all control, and you could feel the love. You could feel the love, and you'd be affected by that love. There was so much love that you felt the electrical current, that love coming from him. There's so much love. The tears are just flowing profusely from his eyes, and he seems to have no idea of where he is. And he would fall down on the ground, he would start to dance, he would start to sing, he would cry, he would laugh. So much love. We have been inspired by Shukdev Paramhans. We have been inspired by Bhagwan Shankar. But mostly we have been inspired by our own Gurudev with so much love for Bhagwan that he could not utter the name of God properly. A devotee said to me that, I think Maharajji didn't really know how to sing. And I said, what are you saying? And he said, because his voice, he wasn't taking the name properly. And I said, that's because his voice was breaking. Oh, I see. I thought Maharajji didn't know music. Didn't know music. He was a master in every art. He knew music inside out. He created music. What do you mean he didn't know music? But he was not able to chant properly because of that love. We are able to chant so nicely. You see, I'm chanting the name of Radhe. I'm not breaking down because the love is lacking. So the name of God is divinely glorious. It is infinitely powerful, but we will discover that infinite powers and the divine glory of God's name only when we take the name with love. Boliye Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj ki jai. Radha Rani ki jai. Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.